It's Wednesday night, jazz hands.
That's right, dude. I gotta tell you, man. When we first started this, I liked the drag racing one, but that one right there is growing on me now. That tells me that it's Wednesday Night Tech Talk Live, brought to you
Put
by
your happy face
Loft
on.
Racing. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, brought to you by WAF Racing. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
And Colleen Tebow is already putting up the link there. So if you have some opportunity, go check out WAF Racing, see what they offer, because they bring you your favorite Wednesday Night Tech Talk Live. That's the only show on YouTube that pretty much brings you real technical information.
And that way you guys can actually ask questions. We're not just having a topic. You guys give us questions and we figure it out.
Oh, man. Let's start off from the top. Lars was here at 123. So LP94, Danny Boyd, Unfinished Project, Bruce Coltgen is here, Clayton's Toolbox, Matthew Ward 627, howdy all, Buff Del Campo, Fab Race Mod Repeat, hello from Total Obscurity Motorsports Stables. Michael Schmidt is here, our famous Val 360 Jimmy, Tom Brown, which is otherwise known as Buick Smith, Slant Daily Garage, KS Skyhawk, Colleen Tebow or Mama M3, Kerosene Cucumbers, the most rockinest name on all of YouTube, Clint Street Machines, Lout Burns is here, Paul Pihui is back, Unity Motorsports Garage, Andy is here. Man, I'm scrolling through these pretty fast. There's a lot of comments. Levi's Backyard Performance is here. Mohawk 62. Man, we got Clint Street Machines is here. Indirect Connection. Vintage Adventure Drives. So Shane's over there jamming out. That's what he said. So were you jamming out during the intro?
Man, I was, man. I had all jazz hands going, and I was jiggling them and everything, man.
Jazz hands happen at the end.
Yeah, but because when it goes da da da, you know, what I mean, the big, the big horn strike. I like that stuff.
Bigfoot's and Mopar Mark is here. Jason's Garage is in the house. It's been a while since I've seen Jason's Garage. Let's see. SSR Performance Evening, everyone. And I think I might be caught up. I think that's it.
That's it?
And I did see a comment up here.
Well, I think this is the best one I hear. Good evening to all. Remember, be kind to your elders, like John Wilburn and me.
John is younger than me.
He's younger than me, too. All right. Did you read this? He said he figured it out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That was the question, or it wasn't a question. I guess it was a comment. Yeah. But we just last week talked about Pertronix 3 Igniter and how literally no one enjoyed it as a ignition system just because of the lack of robustness. Is that the right thing? Robustness
and quality control too. I would have to say that.
Yeah, we were kind of dogging on it, and then ironically, he had an issue with his Pertronix 3 setup this week. So, and they do need 12 volts and probably 20 amps of current.
And he said that the tip was crimped and almost falling off. I had the same thing because they use this really fine wire, so when they crimp it on there, it pulls out really easily. So now he says it runs great now, but yeah, it'll run great all the way until the day it stops.
Well, and there's something, Shane already knows this because he's got an electrician background, but generally over wiring, the finer the strand there is, electrons flow over the top of the wire. So the more strands you have, technically, the more ability of current that has to flow, right? So that's why it used to be like the simple thing is like, go get some cheapy jumper cables and use them for your battery in the back, right? No, negatory. Go down to the Tractor Supply store, buy welding wire, right? Use it for a welder. It'll have probably 10 times as many strands inside the welding wire than it will for a pair of jumper cables. And that used to be the cheap ticket. If you wanted cheap battery in the trunk kits, that was the thing, is you go buy the battery box for a boat and you run welding wire and put cable ends on it. That's it.
Yeah. Not anymore though. That welding wire over there, it's
Uh-huh.
expensive now.
Is it really?
It's
Oh, it used to only
expensive.
be like $1 a foot.
Yeah, not
So,
anymore. Not anymore.
geez, okay.
Yeah, because that's
Uh,
actually where I went to go to when I changed my car over to put, just change the cable in the back, and I ended up buying some cheapy thing on Summit because that was actually more expensive. It was twice as much money to buy the same amount of cable from Tractor Supply, and I was like, oh,
oh,
this
that
sucks.
sucks.
Yeah,
Well, okay, negate my plan, but
go
so
check it out.
Paul Hui is ringing the switch pitch bell 1 minute, not like 1 minute before we even started the live.
Yeah, right.
So
That's the soonest one.
yeah, I think that's the soonest you're ever going to get.
Right.
Fab Race Mod repeats says switch pitch, and the show hasn't even started. So, all right. Well, let's see what we got here. Vintage Adventure Drive says, howdy, folks. It feels like it's been forever since I've been on here. It actually does feel like it's been longer than a week since we had a live, right?
Yep.
Andy says, that's the best intro ever. Unity Motorsports Garage says, that's the best intro ever.
I like it too, man. It's growing on me. I think one day we should do a nostalgia one, and let's do the drag racing one again just for one time, and we'll let people vote on it.
Okay, we could do that. I haven't put the drag racing one up in a long time. Okay, Bill Levi's Backyard Performance. Hope we can talk some Triple Crown smack tonight. You can talk Triple Crown smack whenever you want.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what I was doing, Clint. It was when the horn blast. It was like dun, 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 with the jazz hands.
yeah, well, and you know what that reminds me of is when they do those big horn blasts. Is like, were you ever into the 90s ska revival thing?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
And they had some really, really awesome bands that were just like flashes in the pan. They were around for like a really short period of time. And the ones that stuck around, like there's some that endured, Real Big Fish, and let's see, No Doubt, and they evolved into a pop group. And but let's see, there was one that sang "Come On Eileen." I cannot remember who that was. Catch 22, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know. But it was just like, I can't remember who sang it. I think that's wrong. I think Catch 22 is wrong. But they had horns like that in a "Come On Eileen" song.
It was good. Yeah, I saw. I liked Madness too. I really enjoyed Madness.
I don't think I've heard them.
Our House in the Middle of the Street.
Oh yeah. That was in the 80s. That was
Yeah.
That was the second wave of ska.
Yeah. And then like I actually played in a few ska bands for a while there too. It was kind of more like reggae ska. Yeah, but it was. And then I played in actually like a straight hardcore punk rock ska. Like it was punk rock ska. And it was fun, but it wasn't for me. So
yeah, the ska band, like reggae ska, however you want to call it, that would be the second generation.
Yeah.
And the easy way to identify it is one, they're like on the guitar, they're like chicka chick chicka chick chicka chick, and then they have like a 2-3 beat the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. All right, so Clayton's Toolbox is asking, I have a Jags XHD converter that was supposed to be made by Transmission Specialties. Can most converter companies cut it open and change the stall and loosen up? Absolutely. You could send it to any company. You actually could send it to TCI. You can put my attention to Shane. Now, I don't get out to TCI like I used to, but if you send me all your information to spolito@edelbrock.com, send the converter in, we'll cut it open, and then you tell me what you want it to do. And by looking at what your converter is, you tell us what you think the weight of the vehicle is, your gear, your tire size. We can extrapolate that, and we can raise it up 5 or 1,000 RPM. And it also depends on the diameter of the converter. That really determines how much we can change it. Because let's say it's an 11-inch. You can only really change it so much. But it's a 10-inch. We can actually change it quite a bit. And if it's a 9-inch, we can change it a lot. Because then we can really loosen that up, because the centrifugal force of the fluid, the bigger it is, the more it wants to lock up. But the smaller it is, the less the force, because it's not being slung out nearly as far. So yeah, and as far as cost, I have no idea, but you are in the No Name Nationals group, and I'll see what I can do as far as pricing too, and getting it in and out as fast as possible.
Also, I guess my 2 cents in on this is that if you have a dyno sheet of the engine, send
Send
that
it.
in as well. Because generally, when you do torque converter, you really want to know the capability of the power band of the engine.
Yep.
If you don't have a dyno sheet, try to send Professor P your cam card,
Yes.
okay, and your set of heads and what kind of compression ratio the thing is running, and then he can get an idea of how it's going to act, and then dial the converter into that.
Yeah.
So,
And sometimes if they don't have that, but they know if they have the converter and they know, they can tell me, hey, this is only going to 2,500. They tell me their gear, their tire size. I can usually extrapolate how much torque it's making just by how much it's stalling to. So then I can go from there and loosen it from there. But everything he said, if you have that, then I can almost nail it the first time.
Let's see. Vintage Adventure Drive says I use parts store battery cable in my Scamp. It's a 1 gauge running from the trunk to the firewall where I have a bulkhead, and that's probably going to work just fine.
Yeah,
And Lout Burns says copper's at $9 a pound now.
it is, and that's
Oh
why
my
they're so
God,
expensive.
dude!
Yeah,
A pound of copper used to be like cents.
Right? And
Yeah.
you know what's crazy about that too is that on my car, on the Cookie Monster, this last engine I made, I had to change the cable because I had a 1 gauge cable on it. It would get hot. It would barely turn it over. I went to I think we went to a 2-aught wire, which is literally double the size, and that thing starts on and it runs really good now. Starts up.
Well, and don't forget that there's 1 gauge cable and then there's 1 gauge cable, right?
Yes.
Like I'm telling you, the more strands it has, the more current flow it's capable of.
Yeah,
right?
and also too, I ran a ground on the car's grounded well, but I ran the old cable, the old battery cable became the ground that goes straight to the starter, that hooked to the bolt on it, so that way it had a direct ground to the engine, and that helped out tremendously as well.
Instead of just relying on that ground strap in the body.
Yes, exactly.
Blue Grit Garage says I have an original Pertronix 0 and it is still running. I also have a Pertronix 2 and have my fingers crossed. I've only tried it once and I was not too impressed. I mean, I literally, those magnets in there came pretty much like right out and smashed the pickup, and then the thing didn't work after that. But I've only had one.
I had 2 and they just stopped. They literally just stopped running each time.
Loutburn says, somebody say lean burn? No, nobody said lean burn.
We only said switch pitch, and that was a minute before we started. So I like this one too. This is good.
Go ahead.
I used to do class 3 wiring and soldering for KMM, contractor for Lockheed and Boeing. Now my Pertronix is class 3 spec. That's awesome, dude. I love
The
it.
hardcore. Yeah, I imagine it's got shielding and all kinds of stuff on it now. Toolbox says, I like the drag racing intro the best.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We're going to put it to a vote. We'll do that one day, but I still like this one right now. We might switch off here and there, but I want to see it again at least one time.
Jay Malone says the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones were one of them.
That's it. Yes, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. That's right.
And Brooke is saying she's excited to start racing my truck. Y'all are going down. And then SSR Performance says Triple Crown Smack, Dylan Levi going out first round.
Remember, you're not racing Dylan Levi. You're racing the woman.
You're racing Brooke Levi.
Yeah. Is it Brooke or Levi yet?
Not yet. I don't think so. I just threw that out there just to stir up some crap.
You know what's funny is because whenever I text them, I always say, "Hey, your wife." But I'm just, at my age, I'm just used to saying that, So
I need to get used to saying my ex-wife. Okay, your ex-wife. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah. So
the Dixie Midnight Runners.
I don't think I've ever heard of them. I've heard of Big D and the Kids Table.
I don't know. That's a new one. She says, yeah, sounds about right. We'll see.
Let's see. Vintage Adventure Drive says, my satellite is going to be on an album cover soon. I'm planning to have a picture on me laying in the middle of the hood, or in the middle of the road with an empty bottle of wine in hand next to that car. I'm taking pics Sunday.
It's badass, dude.
No, you should lay in the middle of the hood. I'm kidding.
Yeah. with literally lay on the hood with your back up against the glass with your legs crossed, kind of a hat, just chilling, laying off into the sunset. I think that'd be pitching.
Let's see. Like what that reminds me of is that sounds like an album cover that John Mellencamp would have.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Tom Brown. Go for it.
I saw a cam with intake opening event with a minus in front of the number. Does this mean that it opens after top dead center?
Yes.
And that would make sense.
Yeah, because it's a small cam.
Yeah. So no overlap.
Yeah, absolutely. Small block heads, 1979 vintage. Any propensity to crack? If so, where to look, and how about those 3-part spray? Not too many auto mechanics shops in my hometown. Weld wire oil resistance is a problem. Okay. On those, where I always look at is right between where the two valves go together. Look at the intake side, right where that goes to the exhaust. And I've rarely seen these, but I've seen them only once, so I'm going to mention it. From where the spark plug comes in, there's a little hump there, and sometimes I've seen a crack there. But that's where I've seen the cracks the most, is right between the two valves on those older heads. But on the 79, I mean, that should have hardened seats in it. It should be pretty good.
And I think he's probably talking small block Buick, because that's what he deals with.
Oh,
yeah. Small block Buick heads don't have a propensity to crack at all. I mean, they would have to be hit by something to crack them. It's not like, it'd be more or less like one-off cases, especially when they went to the water jacket directly in the middle of the head. Mm-hmm. There's two jelly bean ports at the top of that head on a 79 head, and there's water that comes right up to the block right there, and those things have no cracking issues that I know of. Just because of the extra water jacket.
I went straight to small block Mopar.
I figured you did, because you're like talking about, and I'm like, man, they have no propensity to crack whatsoever. But he should have probably been a little bit more specific, because it could have been small block Chevy. I mean, just
with this group of crowd, I just went straight to small block Mopar, and you went straight to Buick. But then, you know exactly who the guy is.
Well, he's the one that was cutting the Buick head up just a couple weeks ago. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Kate Don't Play said last week I was learning how to time my engine. Today I know how to time my engine. Perfect. Here's a little tip on that. Remember, if this is more of like a hot rod or racing car, do total timing and then let it idle down, and then figure out where the timing, the idle timing is second, because you only care about really the total timing and when the timing comes in. So that should be your step 2 to learning that, is get total timing set, finding out how your ramp rate is, and how soon does it go to full advance. On most street cars, like street strip, 2500 is where you want to come in, usually.
Well, SSR Performance says, Professor P, I bought an Orange Rocker 15 tube amp. My little PV practice amp wasn't cutting it.
Nice.
And Tom Brown is throwing this thing out here. It only takes about 141 to 181 pennies to make a pound. And then Clint Street Machine says it takes exactly 146. So that's $9. And that's $2 worth of pennies. That's $1.40 worth of pennies.
Isn't that crazy? Like the penny is worth more melted than it is in monetary.
Well, that's what happens when you print money and make the money devalued.
Yeah.
Because back in the 1950s, you probably could have bought a penny or a pound of copper for a penny.
Yeah. Left Turn Dodge saying Pertronics may be like the $75 ready to run things from eBay. Works for now. No, I get it. But you can make an HEI ignition system for under that from, an HEI module, a Ford coil from the wrecking yard, and a few little parts. Here's some wiring. And I've done them for under $30, under $40. And you have a rock solid system that never has a problem. Just saying that.
That used to be my go-to, was the completely rebuilt Q-Jet and the HEI distributor, because you could literally take a carbureted engine and run 100,000 miles if you had an overdrive transmission in the mix.
Exactly, and it would run just fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vintage Adventure drives Shane 400 big block Mopar 433 gear in a 9-inch, 2980 pounds with driver. Mopar Performance 509 purple shaft, Edelbrock Torque 383 intake, CNC ported heads. I'm assuming cast factory heads, flowing peak 250 CFM. What kind of stall would you guess it would need? I don't know what that 509 purple shaft is.
Yeah, 509 purple shaft. They actually went by lift for those, but they were like in the 247, I think was the number, duration of 50. Typically on those, you have a low enough gear in there, so I would say 3,000 to 3,500. If it's more on the street, go with 3,000. If it's more race, go with the 3,500. It'd be much happier there.
Man, oh, I missed that one. I was actually guessing around 28, but I am very conservative when it comes to torque converter, because if you go too far, it's way worse than being not far enough, right?
Yeah, but those purple, the 509 purple shafts, they're especially the 509. That's the biggest one you can usually get, because they had they had a 474, a 480 something, and then the 509, and the 509 was pretty big. It was a thumper.
Oh, Clint Street Machines is saying that Dexy's Midnight Runners did the original Come On Eileen. Yeah, I'm not talking about the original.
It was a remake.
22 did the ska remix from the 90s.
Yeah, and it was really good. I remember that.
Yeah, that was what well, when the ska revival thing started, do you remember that was when they were coming out with albums that were like compilation albums, and they were all covers. It was I think that's what the first albums were, was ska and punk covers, and they were taking regular songs and punking them up or skawing them up, and then they were like, some of them were just fantastic. That's where, if you ever heard of the band Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, that's where they came from, was that, doing that, where they would take cover songs and punk them up.
Mm-hmm. I really liked, what was it? Someone said it earlier, but I really liked the Specials. Remember them?
Oh yeah, the Specials were great, dude.
Yeah. I was trying to remember. I remember the album cover because it was like this guy. It was like a black and white cover, and the guy was like had a hat. And he was kind of dancing.
With like I always thought it was. So you know what's funny is like that 1995 album from Rancid, I think, Out Comes the Wolves.
Yes.
I thought they tried to copy that Specials album cover when they did it, and then spray painted Rancid on it.
Yeah. I thought the same thing too. Yeah. I'm missing this here, and I was reading it a few times trying to figure it out. It says, "Hey Shane, did you get a shoebox for your son yet?" I'm not following. Do you? I'm sorry, man.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Maybe you could drop some more hints or send me a text or something. Or I'm sorry, bud.
Let's see. Blue Grit Garage says, if copper is getting more expensive, will we be seeing aluminum cables like in the 70s house wiring? I believe that was outlawed.
Yeah. The fire is vibration is what happens, and it breaks. If it cycles too much, it breaks. And in fact, heat does it really too. In Arizona,
I would say that because I remember the heat and contraction caused it to work hard, and then it would split.
And it would split, and then it arcs because it splits right through because it gets hardened, and they'll split right through the casing. And in fact, this is a little stupid piece of information. I was licensed in California and Arizona, and in Arizona, you can't even run 14.2 wire. Everything has to be a minimum of 12.2, just because it gets so hot in the attics that the 14 gauge will sometimes split. It'll work hard just from the heat.
Jay Malone says, I learned something the other day. First gen Camaros had 283 engines, but only in Switzerland. GM had a Camaro assembly plant there, and they had a mountain emblem on the grill for a badge.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you something that I learned the other day, and it probably makes all the sense in the world when you hear it. All the cars in Europe are based on liter size, is how they're taxed, right? Mm-hmm. And in the United States, I believe it's weight. Is it not weight of the vehicle?
Yeah.
Or tax? So over there, though, it was based on how big the engine was. And that's why the Rover kept that 215 Buick for all those years at 3.5 liters because it was an affordable tax. And then some of them are, that's why, no, it is liters because the Jaguars, remember the Jaguars had the big V12, but it was only like 5 liters or 4 liters.
Right. Yeah. Vintage Adventure Drive says the album I'm taking pics of for is going to be called Road to Recovery. It's all about heartbreak and stories from my past. Well, dude, awesome. I could write about 15 of those damn albums.
Dude, let's go get a bottle of gin and I'll help you write 2 more.
Right. I'll tell you what, man. You share some more of that stuff with me. I'll tell you, in the next 2 weeks here, I'm going to actually start making drum tracks here. I'll be able to record in my own house again. I haven't done that since California, who knows when. So, and I've got, I'll have 8 inputs here, 2 overheads, two snares, 1 for each floor tom, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to use Reaper, so I'll be able to send it right back out, and I'll be able to put plugins right into it. So it should be really good.
Let's see. Danny Boyd says aluminum is bad for 14 and 12 gauge. In a house, the aluminum gets hot and melts, slightly flows, and then that compromises connections, which causes resistance, which causes heat, and then fires.
Yep. Yeah. Fine Young Cannibals. That was the other one. She drives me crazy. Remember that one?
Yeah, I might just hold on. Give me a second. I'm going to look this up. Okay. Because it's driving me nuts. I think it is Catch 22, but I could be wrong.
Here's a first one is called eFog 3. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for coming and checking us out. If you got any tech questions, throw them in here. We go right down and we answer them to the best of our knowledge. So while he's doing that, says this is Hippie Long. Hey guys, you mentioned a 318 board out with a certain cam and I believe diff pistons at 90 degrees over. I want to write the items needed down
90 thousandths over.
Is that said 90? It looks like 90 degrees.
It says 90 degrees, but he means 90 thousandths.
Okay, 90 thousandths over. I need items to write that to build one. It's a little bit more than this, but basically, you gotta sonic check the block to make sure it can go 90 because not all of them can. They can all go 60, but to go 90, you have to really get an early one and also too the shift, the bore shift. On those, it's always on the thrust side. That's always going to be the thinnest, what I've noticed. And as far as, if you watch Andy, he's building the Mission Impossible right now, 318.
Yeah.
He's going to be close to that. But yeah, usually if it's just a really good head, a valve job, a decent cam, you can easily make 420 horsepower on one of those things. And the cam specs, anything in the 230 duration, 240, that's going to be a really hot cam on a 318. You get some decent head flow on that, it'll easily do that. It's aluminum head, make it 10.5 to 1 compression, put a 650 carb on it, and that thing will zing.
Yeah, and use the stock rods because they're long, and with that short stroke, that's a really good rod to stroke ratio.
Yeah, and on those rods too, they have a pad on the top and a pad on the bottom. Cut those off, but don't grind them off because you don't want to build heat in it. Take them and have them milled off so that way you can cut some of that weight out of it. And then on the bottom too, and that will make the rod much lighter. And then you might have to have it rebalanced at that point, and then just go that direction because it'll run so much better.
Well, we were talked about this before. Also, the 318 poly blocks, those will all accept the 90 over bore like that, no problem.
Yes.
The other big thing to look at is once you hit the magic number, because if you go 90 over on a 318, you're at the magic number, the 4-inch bore.
That's right.
Okay. You might not be able to buy off-the-shelf pistons for that, can you? Do you know?
I don't know, sir. I don't know if 4-inch bore. No,
but you can definitely order a set of pistons and get the thinnest rings you can at that point, right? Like try to get some LS type based rings or let's see, Gen 3 Hemi is going to have rings about that. The super thin rings, the 1 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 3 millimeter rings packs. And that's just going to cut down on all the friction.
See, I'll keep on going down. See if do you find it yet?
What's that? I did. It's Save Ferris.
Oh, Save Ferris?
Save Ferris.
My total timing comes in at 1,000 RPM.
That's too low.
That's way too low.
Something's not right. That thing would be spark knocking all over the place if
Yeah,
all your
that's right.
tires were at 1,000 RPM.
Yeah. Usually got to have at least a little speed, and 2,500 is usually about the number. And typically, you want to have it come in just before the converter is starting to stall on it. So, if you on that 509, I would have it at about 3,000 RPM. So that way, when you're kind of cruising around the parking lot, you're not building so much heat in the engine.
That's literally right off of idle. You're
Yeah.
trying to bring in 20 degrees of timing. That's not going to work. That
Yeah,
thing would
and
barely run.
And a 509 cam, typically they idle right at about 900 to 1,000 anyways.
I think something doesn't sound right with that. Maybe
No.
your mechanical advance. Well, no. It depends how much timing you're putting in it. If you got it all coming in, you could go 10 degrees all in,
Yeah.
But I couldn't see you hitting 36 degrees at 1,000 RPM. That thing would spark knock so bad you couldn't even drive it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, here. Clayton's Toolbox saying, my old custom solid roller cam needs a HEI distributor gear. Is melanized okay, or do I have to have a bronze? It's comp 420011 33. Okay, so those are the cams. So it's a custom cam. Now, is it a copper core or is it a induction hardened? So does it have yellow in between there, or is it like silver? Either way, a melanized will work just fine on both of those. I personally like a bronze gear, and I'm going to tell you why. Is because as the bronze wears, you get some in the pan, and I know that in the filter, I know that by cutting that open, I'm going to get X amount of wear in there, and that just tells me I got to pull it out, check it, and I can keep an eye on it. With the melanized gears, I noticed that I wasn't having any of that problem. They literally would just break. Now, I never had one just break on just. I had a backfire and it broke, but the bronze gears don't tend to break when on a backfire, or like when you're trying to start it and it's hot and it wants to sniff and pop on you a few times. I've had the melanized break that way, but it's all preference. But a melanized one will work just fine.
I use melanized in almost everything. I've seen them break though, and I've only seen them break on one application ever. Is small block Ford when the cam bearings get worn out, because it'll kick that cam over and it'll shear that gear. Normally they're known for shearing the roll pin in them when that happens, but this would shear the gear on a melanized gear.
Yeah, for me it was just backfiring. It was on a small block Mopar.
And now we're talking about the quality of the copper in the penny. And Clint says newer pennies are made of hobo blood and dirt.
I like that. Yeah. Roller cams usually require steel gear. Rollers will chew up softer materials like bronze. Actually, no.
No, you don't want to steel. It'll destroy that cam.
It'll destroy the cam. So basically, your sacrificial lamb is going to be the bronze gear. So yes, it will chew it up. But here's I've ran a bronze gear on the street in the Cookie Monster when I used to street race it, because I had a solid roller and it had a copper core in it, and it would last about a year to 2 years on that. And me racing it, and Dallas knows how far my house was in Poway down to the border. So that was a good 25-mile drive one way to drag race 25 miles back.
Let's see. Danny Boyd says, I never much cared for ska and reggae, but saw some of the shows anyway. The ska bands from the 90s were really cool because it was like mixed with punk.
Yeah.
And it had its own, you ran around smiling all the time because the music was just good and happy. It had a happy feeling to it.
Oh, Mr. Wilburn's here. How you doing, Mr. Wilburn?
Let's see. Fabrace Mod Repeat says aluminum house wire is still allowed in Virginia. However, I wouldn't have it in my house.
No, I wouldn't either.
Blame you.
No, a lot of my jobs in California was, some of those houses in California had grandfather clauses, and they still had the bulldog style, which was like the very first style of breakers, and then some of them still had open wires that went to porcelain clamps. So the wire was bare wire that went through the attic, spun onto porcelain, and then it went down through, and I had to tear all that stuff out sometimes. And some of that was in the 70s. Was a lot of it was that aluminum wire, and some of them you're pulling them out, and you could actually see on the wire where it was starting to arc, and you could see it on the 2x4s where it was starting to almost make a fire.
KS Skyhawk says that small block Buick head I sliced, the valve guides do not look like they can be pressed out. Plus, one of my slices went through a guide. I wanged it with a big hammer. It laughed at me. Is that machine shop only? So the guide in those heads they're not press in. They're cast in the head and they're machined, right? They essentially just they ream them out to like just slightly smaller than 3/8, and then they machine it in. They essentially just hone it in to have like a 1,000th or 2,000th fit to where they should be super duper tight. The ones that wear the most are always the exhaust side, and if you want to replace them, generally the only fix it for it is ream it out to the next biggest size and then put a bronze guide in there. My plan was always to just leave it to that same crappy big size you got in there now, which is 3/8, and then just push it in a guide so you can use 11 to 30 seconds, or even like we had talked about before, using the 8mm, which is just about 5/16 valves out of an LS. I did do the math, and the LS valve can be cut down to be put in that Buick head because it's almost the same height, because the Buick has the big tall ports in it just like the LS.
Here's a little bit of information for early 90 kids. If you know, Corrosion Conformity and Voivod were punk thrash crossover bands that were first albums. Love that stuff. Wow. Didn't know that. Lyle Burns saying the main problem with aluminum wire is corrosion. Code says that you must use an anti-corrosion compound. We didn't have any code in California or Arizona for aluminum because I couldn't even change a socket on it, or even an outlet. I couldn't do anything with it. So yeah, there was literally no codes. Basically, you couldn't use it.
So Michael Schmidt says Shock Tech. Are 90-10 shocks for front only? Do they extend or contract easy? Purpose, pros, cons. I can Google, but figured I would just ask the Diana Duo.
Okay. They extend.
Yeah, they extend quickly and easily. There's like no resistance to them whatsoever. They do not contract easily at all.
Nope.
It's like you take all the forces that you would have normally negatively, allowing it to extend and applying to it compressing, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't like to come down. They're made for just drag racing is generally the application. And the only time in my life I ever put 90-10s on anything was when it was an adjustable Coney strut, and they went from like 50-50, 70-30 to 90-10. And then when I got done, I'd go right back to 50-50 and then drive it. Otherwise, if it's a race-only piece, it'll be fine. But
yeah. I have 90-10s on, I ran that on the Cookie Monster for a while before I went to the AFCO's coilovers in the front. But those 90-10s now are on Plan Z, and I like them on drag racing only, but they literally come up. And here's the crazy thing too, is if you have 90-10s on it and you have a spool in the back, when you go around a corner, it even heightens it more, and the car really ramps because it
body roll. It's just immense.
Yeah, because it goes up really easily. So that one side. So if you're going to the left tire is going to come up, and the car is going to go whoop, like that. It gets really bad.
Yeah, well, that front, if you turn too fast, it will actually skid the front tire, because what it'll do is it'll unload all the weight on the front, stick it on the rear, and because it's on the rear and you're turning with a spool, once it pops that axle, it'll just bounce that front.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
Let's see. Vintage Adventure Drive said base timing on my satellite is 33 and total is 36.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It doesn't have much swing anymore. It helps having almost no compression. It's only 9.25 to 1, and it's actually worse than that with that cam in it. It's probably like 8 to 1. So normally, if you had your initial timing set at 33, the car wouldn't even turn over most of the time.
Yeah. If you had compression.
Mopars always had that gear reduction starter that sounded weird, but they were the first ones to have that. And that's like, that's where you're really lucky, because everybody else had junk.
Yeah. We could actually muscle through it, but But sometimes though, because of the gear and just the way it was, if you didn't have it spinning fast enough, it would turn it over. But sometimes it just wouldn't get the RPM to get the thing knocked off.
I can see
Hippie
that.
Longswing. Yeah, Hippie Longswing. Thank you, gentlemen. Your program makes us all just a little smarter and braver. And you're an asset to
That's
the YouTube,
YouTube.
and the viewers. Well, thank you.
Man,
Awesome.
I'm gonna have to put that on my shirt, like
Right?
asset to YouTube. Yes.
Asset or ass hat? I mean, is it
Now, I'm
asset?
an ass hat on YouTube also. Let's see. Michael Schmidt says mile per gallon. Shane, I don't recall you reporting your mileage achievements on your driving tour. My question relates to what you did with your vacuum advance. What was your goal, strategy in setting this?
Okay, so I know what I did is for the longest time I played with what would total time it could be on a slant six. So I knew that 30 degrees would be that's about all you could get. Maybe 32 degrees total on a slant six. That's got like a little bit of compression, like at least 9-1. Anything beyond that, you're really going to start pinging. If the thing's stock, like the wife's car, I can usually get away with 34 degrees. But I knew that those things could really only handle about 45 degrees total timing when it's going down the road, at least with the camshafts that I'm running. So I found the Vacuum Advance. I think it's out of a 69 car. It's a 7.5, which means it's 7.5 degrees of vacuum, which means 15 on the distributor. So if I'm running, I'm on the crankshaft. So if I'm running 30 degrees, I'll put into that one 7.5, and you can usually tell by where the pin comes in. The pin comes in straight. That's going to be farther out, so it has less movement because they all move about the same. If it moves closer to the center on that plate, it's going to have a lot more. So yeah, 7.5 gives me about 45 degrees total timing, and then they all have a little adjustment inside there. So what I do is I'll drive down the road, and as I'm going down the road and I put it under a slight load, I look at where the vacuum's at, and I'll set it so that way the vacuum is just starting to fall off as I go up a grade, so that way it's not detonating. And then as soon as it gets off of that, it'll bring the timing back up. So you can kind of watch that happen too. You can watch the timing go up and down on that as you're driving down the road.
That's why it was like the MSD timing dial
Yes.
boxes where you could pull like 4 degrees.
Yeah,
Like
mine
just
was
going down the
15.
road, you get it. What you want to do is get it a little bit too advanced. You know it
Yes.
is, right? And then you dial it back with that thing.
Yeah.
That's what
I had
found.
that in my truck.
Did you?
I had a big truck and I had 35-inch tires on it, but I didn't change the gears because I didn't have an overdrive. So I had a little dial on it. So when I was going down the road, just cruising, it was flat, I would turn that thing way up. It would get decent mileage when I go to like LA.
Well, you can add like what, 12 degrees in that thing?
15 on the one
15?
I had.
Okay.
15.
The way I looked at it was I'd like to get it set where it's dialed back a bit, right? Like if you're going on flat ground, it's dialed back a hair. And that way, when you turn, let's say you're going south and the wind is going south, you add 2 more degrees of timing into it, right? And then you'll see your mileage go from, instead of just picking up 1 or 2 miles a gallon because you got a tailwind, it'll pick up 6, right? That's vacuum advance is 100% the key to good fuel economy.
Yeah, because especially when you're running it now. Also, too, you got to look at your carburetor. I would recommend getting a wideband, because the leaner the mixture, the more advance you can put into it, because it takes so much more time for it to come back. So typically, driving down the road on my green car or on the wife's Beaver, I try to run those right around 14.7, 15.1, 15.2 in that range. And in the slant six, I can usually get about 45 degrees on that. Now, if you lean it out more, if I went to like say 15.8, I could almost get it up to 50 degrees on those going down the road. But you're kind of walking a fine line there, because depending on if I go to a place that's only got 91 octane, then I've got issues.
Oh, that's one thing I figured out is never build one that requires high octane fuel.
Exactly.
You always have a finely tuned low compression engine, and then just eke everything you can out of it. Because if you do it the other way around, I had that quench motor, man, and it ran perfect on 93. 91, you were begging to get to the next gas station to put 93 in it.
In 22, I went on drag week, and I had that car tuned for 93, and in Illinois they've only got 91, and all that area was 91. So I was constantly advancing the car. That I had gas cans with 93 in it, and I was trying to put in 110 to try to get a mixture. I'm not going to do that ever again. Tune it for 91, call it good. I actually tune it for 89 out here, and then that way it is what it is.
So Clayton's Toolbox says, any progress updates on Plan Z and the Buick Special?
Okay, for me, yes. I actually I haven't done anything since Drag Week, but I've been just playing music because I'm just trying to change my brain and just have some fun. But the very next thing I'm doing is I'm building an oil pan and a windage tray, and I'm going to build it all inside there. And then basically it goes in there, and I'm going to get that thing rocking and rolling because literally it's just putting it together at this point. Everything's really done. And then making a line that goes from the back to from the front to the back for the brakes. And then I'm going to start beating that car up. I'm hoping to have it running in the next couple months. That's it for me. What about you?
Okay, so the Buick Special. I haven't done a video on it in a long time, and I've actually made a ton of progress without doing a video, and it's like bad on me. But I'm trying to get things a little bit, I guess, consolidated so I could just work on it specifically. I will get to the point where I'm working on it every week, but I guess within the next couple of weeks, it'll probably be within a week or so. Fab Race Mod Repeat has secretly been working on my 9.3 Pontiac Olds center section, and he's pretty much just got it done. So I will be slamming the 9.3 Pontiac Olds together because the housing is done. The brakes are done. I'm literally just waiting on the center section, and I got to make a set of upper control arms. So I will be slamming that together. Also, I was just talking to Shane the other day about it. I was wanting Viking double adjustable shocks on the rear, and I think I'm actually going to go the wayward cheap guy way, which is the Rancho 9000 adjustable. Yeah. And it cuts like about $300 off of what I need for shocks, which is everything I'm scrapping for at this point. Also, within the next week or two, I will have all the pieces I need to assemble the 4-speed. And so I have the complete 4-speed. I literally need to fit it up in the car, make a couple more brackets to hold the engine. I guess I should probably do a video on that, where I make a mid plate that doesn't separate the engine and bell housing. And then I'm going to put some elephant ears on the front. I think that's going to be the easiest way to solve the majority of my problems that I got going on at the moment. But I also will be tearing apart and assembling that 4-speed. Let's hope it works afterwards. And then 4-speed up in the car. Huh?
It'll be fine. They're really simple.
Well, I hope so. I mean, the only thing I got to take off is really the tail shaft housing and the bearing, or the front bearing retainer for the main shaft. It's marred up so bad that I'm just going to replace it with a steel piece.
Tanner's saying that now I'm being random due to some wine I'm drinking for that album cover, but I'm getting to the slant and scam for Jamie. I'll be getting with Shane about making a good 225 once I get it home. Okay, so check this out. Go onto my page and look at Gilbert Slanted Sled. I have it under, you can see the whole engine build there. And then it went over to Just Mopar Joe, where they put the exhaust on it and then got it running, and he took it for a drive. And that is a very, very solid combination. It's basically kind of like I wouldn't call it a hot rod, but it's a hopped up slant 6, and it runs really good. In fact, it got Joe was like, wow, this is actually pretty fun. And I'm like, yes, they're actually pretty good engines if you get them set up right. So go check that out. If you want to do that, I can tell you exactly how to build that, and it's really a simple recipe.
Man, you know what? And you doing all the slant stick stuff made me want to do a V6 Buick something, but there is no cars to put them in. Yeah, that's the problem. Is like the only thing I have to choose from is like a full size car, and a V6 in a full size car would just be an anemic turd. I don't know. I really want to do a V6 Buick in something small. I was looking for El Camino for a while, and I already know for a fact I don't want to do S10. Clint did a 300 in the S10. They actually go in kind of easy. You got to make motor mounts for it. But I know that if I start doing something like that, it's going to become a humongous project. I want something that'll just fall into.
Yeah, that's right.
I want I really want an El Camino.
It falls into place real easily, but El Camino is so big. The whole idea is making something that's small and light. It's got a small cross-sectional area, but I see what you want because you want it for the bed.
I do. I wanted to use it as a truck, but I was like, I can get a G-body El Camino. They're not all that big.
Or just even, why don't you get can't you do it? Buff and Kim are doing, get a G-body and then just make your own El Camino.
Yeah, but they made G-body El Caminos a lot less work.
Yeah, but how much? They're expensive nowadays.
No,
they're not.
No,
well, I thought they were.
I can get the idea. What I wanted to do was get an El Camino and then graft on the front of it and put the Buick Century front end on it.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then it would be like a Buick El Camino. They made the Buick wagons like that too. The wagons are stupid money now. Like, I don't know why. It's just the wagons that are like $6, $7, $8 grand for just a ragged out pile of crap. But I can get an El Camino about $2,500.
I was reading this one. I really like this because, man, this is right up my alley right here. I have 3 cars in every day: 64 Dart GT, 273 4-speed. I'm restoring a 65 Barracuda Commando 4-speed and a 72 Maverick getting a 302 AOD. I think that's awesome, dude. I really do. I like that because I just like driving old cars every day. I mean, the wife's Beaver, I love that car, man, because it drives so easy. I like hot rods and whatnot, but when you're driving it every day with a choke, I can literally go in there, pump it twice to start it. I go back inside to get my stuff, come back out. It's warmed up, and I can drive it. It doesn't stall. It's not, doing the milkshake or anything. It just goes. It's nice.
It's the 72 Maverick with an AOD. I'll tell you the perfect gear for that is 355. I had that combo, and if you got a fairly light car, which that Maverick is, that thing will absolutely run down the road with a smile on its face, and you'll be happy with it because it's got nuts, but yet it'll probably knock down 25 to 28 miles to the gallon with a 302.
I got to tell you though that we actually have on the shelf now, I believe, that small block Ford to a 4L60E transmission, and that would literally go right into that car. We put it in someone's Maverick, or what's the Ford that's like an El Camino? What's that thing called? Ranchero. Yeah, we put it in a Ranchero, and it was one of the guys that I work with has got it, and it just literally fell in there. It even cleared the headers and everything. It was like, and all he had to do is move the transmission mount back about an inch, and it went right in.
Huh.
So it's just a better transmission.
Don't you have a controller? Don't you have to have a controller for the 4L60E?
Yes, and it's a handheld on the phone, and it's and that way you can, you basically tune it while you're driving it. It's actually really cool.
Oh, but it has a computer that's like Bluetooth to your phone.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lakewood or Clint Street Machines at 741 says Lakewood made 70/30 shocks for the rear. Is that so that the period slapper bars would lift the rear easier? Well, I think back then they didn't really understand the concept of traction, and I think it was put more weight on the rear so it would press the tire into the ground harder, I think was the idea. I'm not sure. But 70/30 would probably work. I bet it's the other way around. I bet it's 30/70.
Yeah, 30/70. I agree.
Yeah. Rocky Myers, are either of you going to sick week? No.
They were talking to me about going, but I'm not taking any vehicles. I don't know if I want to go personally because I'm going to save my time for a race that I'm going to do. They have a new one coming up. I think they've already advertised it. It's another 66. I can't tell you the particulars about it, but I'm definitely going to be going on that one.
Vintage Adventure drives on at 749 says the low octane gas around Oklahoma is 87. That's what I run in all my stuff right now, unless I take the satellite racing. The Scamp only has 8.57 to 1 compression, so it doesn't mind the low octane much with that huge cam. No, and that low octane, you could run that on 85, and it probably would be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, it'd be fine. You know what's funny is I never saw that fuel. I never seen 85 fuel until we were on Six Smokies. I think we're in a really small town. I can't
It's
remember what.
very prevalent in like New Mexico when you're going through the Rockies,
Yeah,
because the higher altitude you are, the less octane you need.
yeah. We were actually there was actually some gas stations that didn't even have 93. They or even 87. They had 85 was the only fuel that they had. It was in a very depressed, like really depressed towns.
Uh-huh.
Very small, and it was 85 octane. I've never seen that before, except for like you said in the high altitudes.
Blue Grit Garage says, with all these classic cars, what insurance does everyone have? Haggerty is still expensive when you insure 6 cars. A friend mentioned Grundy. Has anyone had experience with them?
No, I have State Farm, and State Farm literally insures all my vehicles, uh, all the old cars. Now, the only thing is with State Farm is that I can't register the car as an antique, so it's got to have the full registration on it. That's the only way I can do it with State Farm. But I have them all insured for. Well, I think they're like $30,000 or $40,000 for each one of them. So if anything happens to them, that's the money I get.
I just use my regular insurance on all my stuff. So
Me too.
yeah, I never went to a specialty. Especially, I've seen a lot of posts, and I think somebody on here had an experience with them where I want to say Haggerty. No, it was Bobby Frizzell. Didn't Bobby Frizzell have an issue with Haggerty?
I think so. Yeah.
And if Bobby Frizzell or Frizzell Racing, they had an issue with Haggerty where it was something that was obvious that they should pay out on, and they didn't. I can't get into the particulars. I just remember reading Bobby's side. That's the only one I heard, right? But I have never really had a problem. I have USAA. So
Yeah.
Dan Garage 03 says, hi Shane, I pulled the cam out of Little Red's 360 and the only identifying markings are E24. Does that mean anything?
I'm actually trying to look it up right now to see if because I've never heard of that either.
I'd say that is probably a factory cam. If that's all that's stamped on it.
Yeah, E24. When I pulled that up, it's all BMW stuff. Is what I'm seeing. So I don't know that one. I don't know that marking. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, man. I really don't.
Yeah, if generally any aftermarket cam, they'll be stamped in the back of the cam.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't have anything back there, and then here's the other trick is that people don't look, but in between the lobes, sometimes there's cast in numbers. And if you look at it, you read it, it'll make sense. It might just be a factory part number that you see on there.
Yeah. And the casting you'll see in there is usually the manufacturer's mark, but the manufacturer's mark will tell you that, hey, this one came from like say India. That's where it was cast at, and so you'll know that was Melling is the one who cut that because it's just a factory cam, and then you can identify it that way.
Yeah, if E out of anything, I would assume it was Urson, but generally it'd be like E240-1165 something.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. Dust Devil Garage is saying I need to put a Buick V6 in an Opel GT. Hippie Long says a Buick V6 and a 66 Corvair. Guys, I really want a truck. If I'm going to have another vehicle, I'd like to have a pickup truck where I can pick up motors or something. Rocky Meyer saying V6 Vega or Monza. I just don't want to do the S10 because I have a good running 4.3 liter V6 S10. And I was thinking about if I'm going to do this, I'm just going to sell the S10, right? And then take that cash and go buy my whatever.
But the S10 is supposed to last you 4 years. That was the idea, right? 5 years.
That was the plan. I'm 2 down. I got 3 left to go.
Yeah. So don't do anything until that happens.
Yeah.
This is for you right here.
What about 4th gen Camaro or Firebird? Take the hatch off. That'd be like cutting off my mullet, man.
I like the way Clint's thinking here because that's what I was thinking too, man. Do that and just put a little sheet back there, and you got yourself like a little.
Dude, I would totally be like rocking it. You know, I the only thing better is I'm pulling up, jamming out to like some Billy Squire.
Exactly.
Okay. Michael Schmidt says Rancho 9000s have a dial. Do these replicate what 9010 shocks do? So the Ranchos extend easy, but sit down hard, soft based on the setting, or does the dial affect extension and compression equally?
Yes.
It's a single adjustable, so you can only adjust. It will adjust to like a 90-10, but the adjustments that you have are generally like 50-50. Oh, no, I'm
it's
sorry.
not.
That's Newtonian.
Basically, all it is just stiffness. So it's either super stiff both directions or super loose both directions.
Yeah, and you want to go super stiff in a race car sense.
Yeah. Now here's the thing though, is that if you have a trans brake and you're running Caltrax, you typically have it in the like 7 or 8 setting, and you're for foot braking it, you put it in the 2 or 3 setting. That's actually what worked for me. And then as the car got faster, I was literally on 9, and there was no more adjustment. I was still blowing through that shock.
Yeah, it'll be fine on my little super stock Buick.
You'll be fine.
And the only difference is it'll be shock in the rear end by dumping the clutch. So I'll just have to stiffen it up, and I'll probably be up around 5 or 6. But
yeah.
Levi's Backyard Performance says there's a 77 El Camino for $800 on Marketplace. It's a 354 speed with a Laguna nose on it. It's got a little title too. It's bitching. I don't want a 77 Elco. I want something smaller. I would like to have like a small G body El Camino is what I was really looking at. But I think it's probably best I stop getting that idea in my mind and just focus on the plan, which is get out of divorce, financial destitute, and keep the S10 until I stop breathing.
Shane, isn't there a lockup trans that came behind the Slant 6? No, unless it's a stick shift. But you can make one because every single one of my cars has it. So I take a 904 transmission that's a Slant 6 because it's got the offset bell housing. I take an A999 transmission, and then I take the gears out, the valve body, the front pump, the output shaft, and the converter, and I put it all into the Slant 6. I put that all in there, and then that way I've got a low ratio first, low ratio second. So instead of a 245, I got a 274, and then a 145, I got the 154 second. And then I have a lockup on it, and I control it with the little B&M output. It's got a little speed sensor, a little Hall effect that goes right on the output, and then you can adjust it inside so you can turn it on and off as you go. And that's the beauty of the green car, because I got a super high stall in that because I got a 273 gear in there, and then I have a lockup on it. And so it locks up at about 60 miles an hour, and that actually is that's the only way my car got into like above the 23, 24 miles per gallon at 70 miles an hour is because of that lockup. And when it locks up, you can really feel it. But we can easily make you one. It's simple. I mean, I can tell you all the parts to do it, and you can stab it together. It's really easy.
Dougster Wolverine Garage is just showing up. He says, Levi, you need that 77 El Camino. Plus, way down here at the bottom, we do have a Dizzy Izzy sent $10.
Dizzy Izzy, you still haven't sent me your phone number once again. SlantDailyGarage@yahoo.com, SlantDailyGarage@yahoo.com. Save your money because you need to buy those heads from me, because if you don't send me a phone number, I've got other people lined up. I've been holding them for you.
Let's see. Dougster Wolverine Garage says one of my gearhead heroes used to put Pontiac engines in gas-powered dump trucks because of all the torque, and he was a hardcore poncho guy too. Dude, I'm telling you that I got that big block Buick in my Suburban, and it tows. All right.
It's awesome.
I had a 96 Ford Power Stroke, 7.3 standard cab long bed, 2-wheel drive Power Stroke truck. I traded it in for my 2014 Ram EcoDiesel. That turned out to be art in church because they had been cheating the emissions, and I got fucked on that truck, right? And I'm like, I'll look around and try to find another 96 Power Stroke, and they're now like $16,000 to $20,000, like everybody's on crack that owns them. So I decided, I wonder what would happen if I built a big block Buick and put it in my Suburban. That's the only vehicle that I've ever owned that compares to that 96 Power Stroke, because it literally has the same amount of horsepower and torque as the 96 Power Stroke did. and it gets 15 miles a gallon on gas. It doesn't have a turbo. It's happy with a carburetor, and it runs on 87 octane piss water.
And it has a switch pitch. And it's got a switch pitch.
It does have a switch pitch.
And what's cool about it too is when we were driving in it, it's got a little light. When the switch pitch is switch pitching, it goes boop. It's got a little light, and then when it goes when it locks up, it goes light goes off, and you can feel it locks up, and then that's the switch pitch.
The light is the check engine light. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
We used the check engine light to have that.
It's actually pretty cool, man. I was like checking it out. So we rode that when we went to the to Lambert's.
Yeah, and Cope left there like sideways at Mr. Haney, and I decided to do the same thing in the Suburban, even though it never got sideways or spun the tire.
We just made a bunch of like engine noises, right?
It did, because it would rev up because it was in high stall.
Yeah,
right. It would rev and pull, and then but now, hey, I got a new rear end for that thing. It's going to be going in like when spring happens. I'm going to be swapping that rear end in. It's one of my upgrades for No Name Nationals this year. It's a 373 full floating 14 bolt with a Power Tracks unit in it.
That's awesome.
Let's see. We need to catch up because we got these super chats that we never.
I'm getting down there. I'm just making sure that. Oh yeah. Okay. So Junkyard D knows all about it, so I can actually talk about it. So 666 is starting in Mocan. That is correct, and it goes towards. I can't tell you where, but yes, it's going towards St. Louis. But it comes back this time. So instead of it being a one-way trip, it's coming back. So I am 100% in for that, and I'm probably going to be driving Plan Z in that this time. And Dallas is going with me because he needs to get just as wet as I am as we drive down the road in that thing.
We're going to 666?
Sick 66, yeah.
Okay. That one's news to me.
Well, because it just got announced. And so yeah, I was going to tell you all about it here shortly when I had more time about dates and stuff like that.
Oh, when you're going to try to sell me on it.
I got to sell you on it, yes, because it's going to be in Plan Z, and we all know that. Look, I've fixed a lot of things in that thing, but it's still going to leak. We're going to get wet. Even if we hit a puddle, we're going to get wet. But and I'm going to try to do it without a trailer.
Huh. Okay.
Vintage Adventure says, "I have State Farm. I insure 4 cars, and it's now expensive at all. It's now. He probably meant to say it's now inexpensive at all. I don't know. Yeah, I have State Farm. It's actually pretty good. Oh, also too, Vintage Tanner, is that I have in Plan Z. I have a slant 6 in that one. It's a lockup converter, low ratio first and second. Cope built me a trans brake, reverse manual valve body, and the plan is that I'm going to launch it in first, second, then I'm going to lock it up probably in second or maybe hit third and then lock it up as I go down the track because I want that turbo to be actually working. So that's the whole idea on that one. So it can be done.
Let's see. So my next project 74 is saying, please tell me more about your lockup control.
See from where's this at?
806. My next project 74. And then right below it, Danny Boyd says that lockup is a switch pitch for the win.
Izzy thinks okay. I'm trying to get down there. Okay, I'm seeing because I was way up there. I was just reading through these real quick. One more time, Colleen. This is our sponsor here, WAF Racing. Go check them out.
Did you get me middle 3221's super chat for $5?
I haven't got to that yet. I'm trying to find it.
That's where I was getting down there because I was like, all these things were at the bottom and we were way behind.
Yeah, customer cars.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Customers' cars or heat-soaking starters from headers, wrap headers or blanket the starter.
Both. Do both.
Okay. before you do both, check to see if it actually has the factory heat shield on it, and if there is a factory heat shield available, because sometimes there is that bolts to the block right above the starter, and that will fix a lot of problems. Just that factory heat shield. Some cars have it, some cars don't, but most cars have an option to have it. Then, if not, yeah, he's right. You're going to have to wrap both.
Yeah.
But if you wrap headers, it will literally rust them headers to death.
It will. Paint them first. Again, paint them with that. I forget it's at high temp. It's like 1500 degree stuff. And just read the instructions. It tells you. I've done it twice on my headers. It works if you do that. And then you wrap them. And you only need to wrap that one little section that's right there. And then I usually get on the starter, is it DI or DII or whatever? I can't remember the name of that place, but it's got this it's like a heat shield, and it's kind of like a space looking like almost aluminum. But I put that on there, and I had no more problems with headers and burning up starters again. Okay. I'm gonna pull up this number here, but it's a B&M part number, and if you actually go 700 R4 B&M M controller, it actually comes up. Yeah, so it's on Summit Racing. It is part number 70244 is what it is. And it's literally just a controller. It's got a Hall effect, and it has a little button on it, so you can turn it on and off, and then you can speed it up or slow it down with decrease. And it's really simple. And it's got a little piece, a little extension cable that's about yay big, and all the wiring. The only thing is the instructions are super vague. But what I did is I went and got it was a GM van. I forget what year it was, but I have a part number, but it's a GM van for the brake controller. So when the brakes are off, it's connected, right? So that way you run the wire through that, the yellow wire, and that keeps it on. So as soon as you hit your brakes, it turns off the lockup, and then your brake lights work. So it's got two different connectors on it. So it actually works really good.
So Rocky Myers 4030 says it looks like 666 may be going on during No Name Nationals.
Is it?
Yeah, it says Junkyard D saying Rocky, I think day 0 is on Sunday of No Name Nationals, last day.
Well, I might be going from one to the next then.
Okay, the other thing is Blue Grit Garage says, do you have any experience with a 95 F250 diesel? I believe it is a non-turbo international under 150,000 miles. It is a stick, and his coworker was supposed to make a good deal. I do, but a 95 would be a 7.3 Power Stroke diesel, and it would be turbocharged. It's just non-intercooled. It's a direct injected turbocharged diesel, and they make 250 horsepower, I think, or 220 horsepower, and 500 foot-pounds of torque.
But what's good about it is it's older technology. It's all mechanical.
It has no emissions on the diesel.
Exactly. And that's why I keep my diesel. I was going to trade it in and buy a new truck. It's got no emissions on it.
That's it right there. That truck is the, I don't know, it's the forever truck. It's got the stick, right? So you'll never have the problems like mine. That was what was wrong with mine, is it was an automatic. It had the E40D. And as soon as it started flashing on the gear shifter, you knew the training needed to be rebuilt because they're absolute garbage. Yep. And it started doing that, and I unplugged the computer 3 times to make the code go away, and then it started doing it more often. But so I would buy that sucker regardless of what price he's going to ask for it, just because it's one of those trucks that's like literally, it's the bulletproof, will last you forever as long as you don't abuse it like a gas V8, because it's not. It's a diesel V8. Don't go out and do burnouts. I did. I'm dumb. They don't like being revved up.
No.
But
use the torque.
Yeah, you could have that truck forever. Now, here's the thing is that truck, most of them came with 355 gears. I don't know what that stick will come with. But 355 gears is a little bit, it's not enough, right? It needs like 323 is what it needs. It needs to be ideally at 1800 RPM or less. That's when it'll get optimal fuel mileage. And that for me with 355 gear was 62 miles an hour. And it would get almost 30 miles to the gallon at 62 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But the second you put a trailer behind it, it's a big block. It's getting 10, 11 miles a gallon. That's all you're going to do. It doesn't matter what trailer you put behind it. That's why I never understood how everybody talked about how great they were. That's where I didn't see any gain. Now, driving on the open road, the thing would knock down serious mileage.
My truck does. My diesel with my big box and going to the nationals, I'll pull in about 14 to 15 miles per gallon at 70 miles an hour with my diesel. That's why
It's the 5.9, right?
Mine's the 5.9. That's correct. Yep.
Okay, and that's probably why mine was the 7.3, and they like for some reason the V8s turn more RPM than the inline six. The inline six is like 1600 or so RPM.
Yeah, it's 70 with the 410 gear in my truck because I got mine 410 because I lived in Southern California to get over the hills. I'm at about 2000 RPM, 2100 actually at 70 miles an hour. So it's just on this side of being a little too much.
Well,
but after 70
number, it exponentially drops fuel economy.
Yes, if I go like 72 miles an hour, man, does that thing just start? It goes into the tens. Oh, Clint, yes, yeah, you're right. It is DEI. That's the name of the heat treat, the heat stuff, and they have a whole line of it, and it works amazing. And you can actually get most of this stuff at your O'Reilly's too. They sell this stuff over the counter there in their hot rod section that they have there.
Vintage Adventure Drive says that Uncle Tony's garage thumbnail for his live going on right now is a cool picture of Plan Z.
Right. Well, I'll tell you right now, it's going to be much cooler with my car now, Plan Z, is actually, it might actually pull a wheelie because I have a trans brake and that thing's got almost a 3000 stall in it. And that thing's going to flash. I think it might do it.
Well, my next Project 74 says that awesome, thank you. I'm currently using pressure switches off the governor test port. It works well, but not easy to adjust.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, see, I did the exact same thing too. As I had it, I changed it to a bunch of different ones, but this one actually works really good, and it's expensive, but this way you put it right on your dash, and it's a little dial, and it works amazing.
So most of the parts Ron Ward just showed up. He says, Slant Dealer Garage, how well do the VRS carbs hold up with ethanol and gasoline? Any issues with corrosion at this point?
No, we actually when we designed those, we actually designed them so that way you could put E85 in them, but the calibration wasn't there. But everything in there can handle E85. It's literally an E85 carburetor. All the gaskets and everything in there can handle it, even the jets, not the jets, but the Neyland seat and I forgot the accelerator pump. That's all rated for E85. So yeah, it'll run just fine. No problems at all.
So Racer Ray says, Tech, what's going on with an engine that loses oil pressure under load, but gains it back when you lift just a bit, 20 PSI under load and 45 unloading? Oh, I don't know what kind of engine it is, but that to me sounds like you got some bad main bearings or you got some bad cam bearings.
Or the pickup in there is clogged. It's slightly clogged.
Oh, it can do that too. If you get I tell you what I've seen. Well, the old engines used to do. You old timers know when they had the nylon teeth gears and the nylon would break off and fall down in the pan, they would clog the pickup and do stuff like this. The other thing that I've seen is I've seen asshats do mechanic work and then they'll just scrape off RTV that they put on there before and it falls into the pan and it clogs the pickup.
Yes.
But this sounds like main bearings, or you might have because there's only two things that can move. Well, okay, I guess I shouldn't say that. There's only two rotational pieces in it that can move longitudinally under load that would cause a low oil pressure issue. Either the crank is moving, uncovering the oil holes, or the cam is moving, allowing oil from the main oil galleries just dump straight into the pan. That's the only things I can think of that would do that, because that's what happens when it goes under load. It'll push the crank down and to the side, and then the camshaft will move longitudinally like this.
Yeah.
If to run out.
I've actually seen it with the pump on the pickup. So under load, because it's actually pulling, it's trying to suck in more. I hate to use the word suck in, but it's trying to pull in more oil, and all the crap that's in there basically fills up inside of it. As soon as you release some of the pressure and it drops back down, it actually regains its oil pressure. Also, too, I've seen it to where you're under load, under high acceleration. If there's a
it'll go back. Yeah, the oil will go back under high acceleration.
Exactly. Or sometimes they've jacked it up and they put a little dent in the pan so that the pickup's then too close. So when you're driving, it's getting fine, but when you're under load, that thing is sucking so much it goes whoop, and it can basically almost suck that thing up there. And then when you let off,
or the oil around it can't get around the sump fast enough.
That's exactly right. And so then it starts sucking from like underneath the pump. Is actually cavitating oil inside.
It'll cavitate.
Yeah.
It'll create a vacuum bubble.
Exactly. And I've actually seen that. I've actually seen that. So either one of those two, every what I said and what Dallas said, I'm telling you, one of those two scenarios is going to be your problem.
And if it's an LS motor, it's got like a cast aluminum pan on it, you can automatically, all right, it's probably not, it's been jacked up with the pan. But you can easily say it could be something as simple, because the LSs have those
barbells. They have
the barbell in the back, but they also have the front mounted oil pump too, right?
Yes.
And it has to suck all the way from the very back and then push it to that front mount oil pump, just kind of similar to a Buick.
And then go all the way back down the side of the block to the oil pan, then go up and then go forward. So yeah, could be.
Oh, and here he's saying, being it's an LS, it's probably the cam bearings. That's okay. I've said this a million times, and a lot of guys want to argue or say something totally different. But the LS is a V6 Buick, only V8 form. Okay, and they have the same problem, the same inherent problem, and that's just because the way the oiling system is designed. They put a newer style pump on them when they went to the LS, but it still has to draw oil from the rear of the sump all the way to the pump. Then it's got to pump it from the pump from the front back. So by the time it oils the back cam bearing, the engine's already been running for 2 minutes.
Yep.
And that's the thing that people don't realize, the inherent flaw of that oiling system, moving the pump all the way to the front. It made it easy to access and repair. It makes it a pain in the ass for longevity of the engine.
Also, too, having it on the crank does make the oil pump run faster, so you can run a smaller oil pump in general, because it's spinning the speed of the crank instead of the speed of the camshaft.
Oh, well, that's good though.
Yeah, so that's good, but that just makes the pump smaller, which then extrapolates problems a little bit more. But it actually allows it to pick up oil pressure faster. But now that I know it's an LS, I agree with you. It's probably going to be either the barbell in the back or the bearings, the cam bearings, 100%, or in the lifters. Because
and you know what's weird is that LS, actually, they were smart about that when they redesigned it. They went to a very large size cam journal and bearing so it could distribute the load really easy.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would. Is it because of the Beehive springs? It has a lot of pressure on the cam when the load is at max lift.
No, I think that just sometimes on those, just people take cams in and out, and they're not as prevalent in doing this kind of work, so they just nick the bearings in and out many times. Yes. And they just start shaving off, and now you just have basically a squirt gun, right? You got a sprinkler.
Yeah, no, I understand. They did the pine cone in the nose hole, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Olds torquer intake has a huge casting flash in the outer 4 runners. Problem is, those runners are super long. I can't get in there with any of my tools, grind them out. Any tips? Dude, I've actually done this. I've done go down to Home Depot and get the just the big flat things of sandpaper, and then I'm trying to remember the name of those. I used a pool noodle. I put it on a pool noodle, and I shoved it down in there, and I cut it down like not. The pool noodles are huge, but you can cut it down to a small tube, and then I was shoving that in there, and I was able to knock off the flash with that, and it worked amazing because I couldn't get all the way down in there.
If you think about it, that's really all that extrude hone really is.
Yes, right.
That's what they would use in this kind of case would be an extrude hone, which is a pressurized goo that has lava particles in it, right? Yeah, pumice. And they shove it through at like 3,000 psi. Now it's not coming out 3,000 psi. It's like through the neck of the gun is 3,000 psi, but it literally builds a flow of pumice rock.
It's like a big glacier
out of the intake to death.
Imagine a glacier going through like a canyon. That's exactly what it's doing, just grinding that thing through. But I couldn't afford that because I would buy my intakes, at secondhand. And sometimes they were imperfect. So I just used that. I just got it, and I would just cut that thing down and put it in there. Now it's not perfect, but it will get in there and it will take the flash off, and you're gonna be messing with it for a while, but it will work.
Let's see. Tom Brown says, speaking of stupid oil pump designs.
Oh, I was gonna grab this one real quick.
I don't think that's a question.
Yeah, it is. Does the crank move forward and back under hard throttle? My 302 with the 4-speed destroys the thrust bearings after a few hundred clutch dumps. Yeah. So thrust on the crankshaft. Think of the left-hand rule. This like this, right? So it's a cross product. These two are your motion, and then your thumb is the thrust. So the crank under load is always going to go forward, and then you extrapolate that by having your by putting your foot on the clutch. That's going to push on it also. So you're going to have force by the cross product, and then you're going to have force on that. So yes, it's going to be trying to shove it out the front is what it's trying to do.
Also, Tom Brown says, speaking of stupid oil pump designs, how about the baby 3-liter Duramax diesel with the wet belt-driven pump at the back of the block, so you have to pull the engine every 150,000 miles to replace the belt? Dumb. I had the 3-liter Eco Diesel. It was in the same kind of similar situation. The crank and cam sensor was in the back of the block, I believe is what it was. And you had to separate the motor from the 8 HP to change those things out, which is like a 5-minute job to change them once you get the tranny out. But you're going to spend 8 hours getting the 8 HP out and then 8 hours to put it back in. Dumb. I don't know what's wrong with engineers these days. I really don't know. I wonder if they've decided to kick the serviceability to the curb.
Yeah.
And, to satisfy production numbers. I don't know if that's what it is.
Well, let's look at one that's actually a recent engine that I can actually have some personal hands with problems with. The Godzilla engine. The oil pump is literally in the pan. You have a timing chain that comes off the crank. It goes down to another timing gear that runs a shaft that goes all the way to the back, and then the pump has got a sensor on it, and the sensor basically, as you're cruising down the road and it's under light load, it's an adjustable pressure gauge. So under light load, it will adjust the pressure so it's more
lowers
efficient.
The pressure so it uses less horsepower to turn it because less
exactly. Yeah, so when the Godzilla first came out, I was actually at Crowder and we were working on grinding cams for those, and then when I got to Edelbrock or the comp, they were doing the exact same thing. So I was telling them, hey, this is what we noticed about that thing. So yeah, that's a recent one, and the only way to change that, you have to take the pan, you got to take half the engine apart to fix that thing, and it's a real pain in the ass.
I learned a long time ago screwing with just old American V8 stuff. Like when I was younger, the thing I was always guilty of was like doing you'd hear the one thing and you'd fixate on that, right? Like when I was running 302 Fords, the big one was, I want to say cylinders number 1 and 8. Always run lean because they're all the way on the outside of the manifold, right? And the center 6 cylinders generally get plenty of fuel. It's just those 2 outside ones that run lean. So there used to be a trick where you'd run 24 pound per hour injectors and you pull number 1 and number 8 out and you'd put a 30 pounder in each one, right? And then you'd run it just like normal. And it's always rich in those 2 holes, right? I was so dumb that I heard that trick and I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. So I do that. Man, I can't hardly drive this sucker. I'm like fighting computer codes and shit all over the place and checking for vacuum leaks because the Ford 5-liter was like, it would never really have any problems. The EC4 wouldn't go bananas over little things like that. It was always vacuum leaks that seemed to screw that thing up something horrible. And so I was looking for vacuum leaks, and I'm like, I wonder if it's just the injectors. And yet, lo and behold, it was just the injectors, right? But I used to fixate on those stupid little things like that and try to gain every 1 horsepower I totally could. Now, at full throttle, it probably gave 0 fucks because it wasn't even reading the O2 sensors at that point. It was just running off the map, right? And then having 6 pounds per hour extra in those cylinders probably evened them out fine. But drivability suffered something fierce. That's one of those things. Is the juice worth the squeeze, right? And I know why it's got that Rube Goldberg machine running the oil pump. It's because it doesn't have a distributor running anything, right? And if you were just to make something as simple as a timing cover that had a distributor in it, I'm sure you could move that oil pump on the 7.3 Godzilla. I
think there's a company that's actually moved that oil pump to the front. I think
Have
it's
they?
I think it's a Gen 3 Hemi or is it an LS pump that they put on there. I don't remember what it was, but I saw it at PRI. They actually got rid of that whole thing and put it up there, and got rid of all that.
Ron Ward kicked me right in the balls. Stupid oil pumps, Buick. Why did GM strap such a crappy oil pump on such a great engine? I actually have a fix for that thing. I really do. I think I've told you this. On the small block Buick, there's 9 90-degree turns or greater before the oil reaches the number 1 cam bearing, which is the first thing it oils. And 9. What in the world happened there? Right? The big block Buick was a little bit better, but it's like 6. But here's like all the questions I have, okay? It was like they had engineers to build the engine, and then they took hey, you're the new guy. Aren't you the intern engineer? We're going to have you build the oiling system for this engine that we're going to try to take on the world with. So the small block Buick was the first one to develop, the 215. It had a 2.3-inch main and 2-inch rod journals all the way back, right? So it didn't have much main bearing surface area. So that 215 had a 7/16 pickup, and then it went through 7/16 passages throughout the block all the way to the number 1 cam bearing and the main oil gallery that runs down the passenger side of the block. That worked great for the 215 and the 300, which only had a 2.5-inch main. Then they decided to build the 340 and 67, but it branches off from there. They took the 300 design and they thought, oh, hey, we got a pretty good design here. Let's build a big block Buick based off of that thing. And they took all the good stuff from the small block Buick, the deep skirted mains, the high nickel block, all that stuff, and they shelved all that crap. They built a block that was like a Chevrolet small block where it's got the mains hanging down the bottom of it, but they took all the extra cast iron out from inside internally around the main bearings, right? And then this was the pre-Oldsmobile 403 windowed mains. Then, in the infinite wisdom of all of that, they made the main bearing, even though they only got a 3.9-inch stroke on it, they got the damn main bearing is 3.25 inches in diameter. And they used the same 7/16 pickup tube that they did for that 215 Buick that had a 2.3-inch main and 2-inch rod journals. Now you're going to a 3.25-inch main and 2.25-inch rod journals, right? How much more oil does that engine need? Probably double.
Yeah.
Right? When you say double, maybe even 3 times as much. with all that main bearing surface area and
and the speed.
yeah, it's like, what in the fuck were you guys smoking on this day? You know, it really was. But yeah, I don't know. That's to me. He's right. They did such a terrible job. And what's sad is the engine they had before that's what killed them. The nailheads had a horrible oiling system.
So this is from Ron. This is actually right up your alley. Question: what engine built in the last 30 years offers the most performance potential if inherent design flaws were to be alleviated? The 4200 GM seems to be a good candidate, as does the Godzilla.
Man, what would be the most killer engines design if you eliminated the inherent design flaws?
Dude, I'm telling you, man, I've studied a lot of these. I got to tell you that the most overlooked one is I still believe it's the Gen 3 Heavy. It comes with the block is amazingly strong. The heads flow a shit ton. The flaw on them is the oiling system to the lifters.
I think it's a North Star Cadillac, dude. I think it's the North Star.
But I don't think so, because they
did not fix the inherent design flaw of the North Star, which was the head gasket issue.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, if you think of it, North Star, I think a North Star is a V8 version of that Quad 4 Oldsmobile. And I really think that's what it is. And that was the inherent flaw with the Quad 4 was the head gasket. But when you had a 2.5 liter that made 220 horsepower in the 90s, it's a killer number.
But the North Star, the North Star, I told you this, that is the reason why I am an engineer. Like, I actually put forth the energy to do it, because I changed a starter on one of those things one day, and I said, I'm never doing this
in a retarded spot.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But okay, I like those engines. We used to put those in buggies. They just didn't have a lot of they just didn't make a lot of power for what they were. They were so complex, and they could RPM to the moon, but they just never, I don't know, they just never made the power that I thought it should be.
I don't know. I don't think they ever really got that thing dialed in. I really think that is a V8 version of the Quad 4. The Quad 4 was murderous. And the North Star, I don't know. I didn't really do much investigation on North Star stuff past like 2000, because they used to be really odd to see in the junkyard. God, the engine looked humongous, right?
Yeah.
But you just look at them. But the sad part is, I might be looking at stuff in the junkyard in 2005 and it's from 2000. And that tells you everything you need to know about how well sorted out that project was.
Here's one too. I never thought about this because it never comes up to me, but the 3.0 Hurricane. There's people, they love that thing. And I've never even seen one actually I have. I've seen two in real life, but it just never has done anything for me. Here's Ron saying that if that engine was to be offered naturally aspirated, it'd be a replacement for the Slant 6. It'd be dead state, solid, reliable. Andrew agrees with you. North Star. I'm telling you right now, I have a big problem with the North Star, because that's the reason why I quit working on cars.
Dude, I had never really appreciated them for what they were, and it wasn't until it might have been Calvin did a video on one, and he started disassembling it, and it's got like a clamshell block, right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't take the mains off of it.
No,
you take the bottom half of the block off.
Yeah.
And it's all bolted and girdled into place. It is serious engineering.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it is pretty good, but like I said, we ran those in buggies, and when I had the chassis dyno shop, we used to run those on the dyno, and it was always lackluster as far as the power they would make, but I don't know. But Andrew's also saying the 4.4.
Probably that's supposed to say Aurora, maybe.
Yeah, solve the problem that the 4.6 had with the head gaskets. I would say the Aurora was pretty good too, wasn't it?
The Aurora, it was the V8 Oldsmobile modular style engine that I think it really was the basis of the Quad 4 times 2, right? The V8 version of the Quad 4. Because Aurora was made by Oldsmobile and was the last V8 Oldsmobile made. But I'm not sure. I know the last couple of years of the North Star were like its last hurrah, because they had like a whole engineering team that was trying to sort that thing out.
Yeah. I like the Quad 4. That was actually a really good engine. I worked with that with that Code 4 racing that was happening down there at the stadium. And I got with Jim Fueling. I'm not trying to name drop, but Jim Fueling had this race car that set all these land speed records down there. He donated the vehicle. We just had to take the engine out, and it went to the San Diego Automotive Museum. We took that. That's the one that did like 200 and something miles an hour, whatever it was. We got the car. We went down to the wrecking yard, got another Quad 4, and then we hooked up a 50 shot of nitrous to the thing. And that's what we used to go down to Jack Murphy Stadium or Qualcomm and race all the people in the cop car. We actually made it into a cop car. It had lights and sirens and everything on it. It was actually cool.
Well, so the Quad 4, and for you youngins out there that might not even know what the Quad 4 is, the Quad 4 was General Motors' first attempt at 4 valves per cylinder dual overhead cam. And it was before the days of VTEC, and this thing was throwing down 220 horsepower and was 2.5 liters, I think, or 2.3 liters. It was small. And the VTEC was the only thing that really knocked this thing off, because at the time, Hondas were just gas mileage go-getters, right? They were grocery machines.
Yeah.
And that Quad 4, I remember in 90, because see, I was in high school in 93. A girl got a 91, okay? And it had a turbo on it. And I'd never seen a turbo Quad 4 before, but I guess apparently 91 was the only year they made one. And, it was fast, man. That thing was stupid fast. And it really wasn't like, it was like the opposite of any Oldsmobile V8 if you've ever driven one. Like, they got tons of brutal face-distorting torque, and then they kind of just lay down after like 4,500, right?
Yeah.
And they got these big, huge ports. You think it'd be the opposite, but it was not the case. The Quad 4 was something that was just like, it would start throwing you back in the seat and then keep laying you back and laying you back and laying you back. And you're like, God damn, what is the power band on this thing, right?
Yeah. So, one thing I never told anyone this, but I'm going to tell you, I'll tell it here because the statute of limitations is gone now. So when we got that car from Jim Fueling, we put the Quad 4 in it. I may or may not have taken that car out and wanted to see what it would do. Because remember, this thing was set up for a land speed record. I got the car to 135 miles an hour, man, of that Quad 4. Now that's totally stock.
Those things made killer freaking power for what they were.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Let's just say it was 2.5 liters, making 220 horse. If you put it automatic V configuration, 5 liters, 440 horsepower in 1991 on 91 octane gas. That's a GM's. Let's see, what did they make? The LT1 was 330 horse in its most potent form. Right? That's 110 more horsepower.
Yeah. It seems like it's coming to the North Star or the Hurricane, seems like, or the Godzilla.
I haven't seen a Hurricane outside of the one that ran at Sick Week.
Yeah. I've only seen them out on the drag strip. I've never seen one in person or even on the road at all. Fab Race Mod Repeat wants a Godzilla engine, relocate the oil pump, solve my cutting the shock towers and moving the cross member on the Fairlink. Yeah, I'm telling you, there's people who run these things. And when we first got our very first one when I was at Crowder, we just did a cam grind on it, and it made 600 horsepower. And that was, I think that was like in 17 or 18 when they first were given out. And then we did the exact same thing at Comp. Literally just reground the cam, locked out the phasing on it, locked out the oil pump, and it made 600 horsepower just like that. Easy, super simple. And it made the same amount of torque too. It made like almost 700 foot-pounds of torque. It was insane.
Oh, that's right. I do remember this. Chris Cox says here at Fab Race Mod Repeat at 845, there's a guy at Northeast Dragway that runs third gen Firebird Super Stocker, right? This is like an NHRA Super Stock legal car with a North Star based engine and Liberty 5-speed. It turns 10,000 RPM between shifts. Dude, I was there for that thing. He even came up and met me and told me what he had because he liked that I liked stick shift stuff, right? I like gear banging, small cubic inch, high winding stuff. And he came up and told me, hey, man, watch my Firebird. It is real wicked. And I'm like, cool. So Chris and I'm out there selling memberships or T-shirts or sitting there at the booth or just chatting with Chris or whatever. And I hear this thing in the burnout box. It's like, what? And I'm like, what the hell is that? Right. Yeah. And I look and it's this dude's Firebird. And it left, and I mean tires straight up in the air. And it had wheelie bars on it because in super stock they can run wheelie bars.
Mm-hmm.
But it had wheelie bars on it, and it was up every gear, man. That thing was fast. I couldn't believe it.
When I was doing on the dyno chassis dyno, they were turning those things easily to 9,000, 9,500, and that's why the guys in the buggies liked them because they could just over rev them. But I'm not sure what they were putting to the tires. But I think it was like 350, 360 to the tires is what they were doing.
Well, I don't remember what they were rated in Cadillacs. I think they were only like 300 horse, and that the limitation wasn't so much the engine. The limitation, I think, was that transaxle was like only that 4T80E or whatever it is. It's virtually a 4L80E, but turned transverse wise.
Yeah, no, these ones had the Mendola style transmission on them, and then they had headers on them. And one of the guys.
Oh, you're talking the buggies, though, right?
Yeah, in the buggies. And so, when we did them on the buggy, I think at fourth gear on those was 1-to-1. And so they're putting about 360. But remember, the Mendola transmission is literally a transaxle. Right? It's got the transmission and the gear, the differential right in it. So it's really small. But I think they were making like 360 to the tires. I was expecting more for that kind of RPM. That's all I'm saying.
So, Mohawk is saying here at the bottom, I had a friend put Slick 50 in his brand new F-150 first oil change. Truck never got over 120 degrees, even with the radiator fully covered at 40 degrees outside. I don't know if you guys remember, but at No Name Nationals, I had a cooling issue with my Suburban where I thought maybe the clutch was going on, the clutch fan.
Mm-hmm.
You remember I flushed the cooling system and they didn't have CLR at the local Dollar General there, so did I get LA's Totally Awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I poured it down in the radiator, right?
Yeah.
And I let it run until it got hot. And then all I did was pop the petcock on it and drain it all out. And I kept flushing it until nothing came out, right? No more foam, because it foamed up really bad.
Yeah.
And dude, my Suburban, even on the way home, it never got over like 160, 170.
You were telling me that because you're like, hey, we should leave at this time. And you're driving. I was like, this thing's running great, man. It's nice and cool.
Yeah, I drove it the other day and it was like 30 degrees out. It never got up to like 120. I don't know what that LA's Totally Awesome did to the cooling system because I wanted to use the CLR to get rid of any rust or calcium buildup I might have in their line, and they didn't have any, so I just did the LA's Totally Awesome, and I didn't know how it was going to work at all, but I'm like super impressed now.
Yeah. So I'm with Andrew on this because we actually picked these up right here, the 4T80E. Basically, there are parts that you can upgrade to the 400s. So we use those.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. So we picked those up because you can get those relatively cheap, and you can use some of the parts inside, and some of them have. I know I might be speaking out of turn here, but I think it was right. They had 5 or 6 planetary planets in those things.
Oh, that's the 6. That's the 6-pinion planetary.
Yeah, 6-pinion planetary. Yeah, I think that's what it had in it. I believe because we were getting them for those.
One of those transmissions, I want to say that 4L85Es came with like a 6-pinion planetary or something, which was
maybe that's it.
That's 2 more than the
factory. Yeah.
Than the factory one, right? So it's like it would technically be like a 50% upgrade.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Mohawk, on this one. The wet water stuff. Yeah.
Water wetter.
water wetter, yeah, works good in cooling system and it keeps cooling things. Yes, no, it does. The problem with that stuff though is that it still kind of gives that like you have coolant in your system color sometimes. You know that feel that if you sometimes people can't look, they'll put their finger in there and it gives that coolant feel to it. It's the only thing I don't like about it. Oh so Andrew said correct. That's exactly So we got those when we were still doing that 6X. We used to buy those transmissions just so we could get those planetaries out of them, and then we could get a 204R and a few other parts, and we'd have to weld them all together to get that.
Dude, that 6X was so cool, but it was like so stupid expensive.
Yeah, because it took four transmissions to make one.
I know it had 204R, turbo 400.
Yep.
Right. And then apparently the 4T80E.
Yeah, some parts from that, and then the 4L80.
Oh, really?
4L80E, because that's actually the case that it was in.
It was in a 4L80 case. I didn't know that. I thought it was in the turbo 400 case.
No, it's 4L80E.
Huh.
Because and then what it is too is that you're lowering the gear ratio because the 4L80E's got like that terrible like 240 something first gear, right? So this way you're making like a 2.
It's same as turbo 400, 248 first gear.
Yeah, but I think you bring it down to like a 290 or something. I forget what it is, and then that way you can apply and different gears on it, and then you can start half sizing them. But you're bringing the first gear down lower.
Oh well, because it gives it a broader range, right?
That's right.
You get 6 gears. Is 6th overdrive or is 5th and 6th overdrive?
5th and 6th are overdriven.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Man, we're it's 8:52.
I know, dude. This has flown by so fast. Maybe it's because I've been worked up dropping F-bombs all over the place. But
I got to tell you, this is the best thing about not having to worry about monetization on this is we could drop whatever we want. And, who cares?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think on this one, I'll concede on this one. I think you're right on the North Star. It is an amazing engine. To me, I do not have a soft spot in it for me because of the fucking starter.
I don't doubt it. Those were a bitch to change, man.
Yeah.
An absolute bitch. You had to pull the intake manifold off. Do you remember when it was like to change plugs? All you did was open the hood, pull the plug wires off.
Yeah.
Now it's like almost everything needs the intake manifold removed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I think they've thrown maintenance or the serviceability out the window, and whatever it takes is what it takes. And some of that stuff, I think, like we've covered, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Yeah.
Here's one. So go and check this out. Tanner's going to be live on Cousin Cletus's talking about his scamp on Saturday. So go check that out. I'm not sure what time he didn't post it. So if he posts the time, I'll tell you then. But go check that out. He's always fun.
Andrew Nilsson says the Nissan VK 5.6 is the same starter arrangement.
Fuck that thing, dude. Blow it up. I got to tell you, man, look, I finished the job on that. I finished the job on that. And then about 2 weeks later, another one came in and I literally walked out and said, I'm never doing this again. And that's literally the car that killed it for me.
Well, you would think, I don't know, the North Star, if you would think that they would have learned a lesson from that. You know what I mean? Like that serviceability. Imagine how bad that would be if we were to have a North Star today, where they got the stop-start technology at the stoplights, right? It burned the starter up twice as fast or faster.
Yeah.
So there'd be tons of replacements, and they'd all be under the intake manifold. And I want to say that Cadillac had a wet intake manifold, like coolant came out of it, right? So it wasn't like pop it off and you're ready to go, but I think it did have water across it.
Right. It was a pain in the ass, dude. It just sucked. And there was another car that years later, one of the mechanics I used to work with told me he quit. They put a starter inside the transmission bell housing. There's a starter inside. And
I don't know how you can. Dude, golly.
So you have to take the
Ford was terrible when they when they bolted him to the transmission bell housing. God dang it. I pulled an AOD out of the junkyard. I hauled that fucker all the way from the back. AOD Ford is no lightweight clown, right?
Yeah.
And I hauled it all the way from the back. And I get out, I put it in my truck, and I set it up there. And the holes had all the threads torn out of the bell housing for the starter. And I was so mad, right? I just literally left the tailgate down on my truck, threw it in reverse, backed up, and just threw that thing in drive and took off. I wasn't going to have to helicoil a transmission just to get it out and not even know if it really worked.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that was, yeah. Oh, and here, Bear Rose put this on. Who needs monetization when you have good friends? Thank you, man. Keeps the lights
so
on.
Much, Kim. That's well appreciated.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And all these little super chats, this all goes into the No Name National Fund. So you guys are basically buying your own presents that you're going to be getting for whatever trophies we make.
Speaking of No Name Nationals, if you liked last year's live from No Name Nationals,
yes,
we're going to do that again this year.
Yeah,
because that one was a lot of fun. I had drank too much. We were doing fun stuff. Dylan Levi ran 1585. And we busted his balls for it.
We took pictures of it.
Yeah.
He's a good sport, though, with it. Oh, man. And then go and see Mr. John Wilburn. Bring up the No Name Nationals on his John Wilburn channel on 7 Central on Friday nights. Go check him out. I'm not sure what he's got going on. But what John needs to do one time is he needs to bring back his gun channel. And I do have questions. I don't want to hijack on Friday. So like maybe on a Sunday or Monday, do your thing again, John. Bring out your gun. Let's do gun talk again.
So Tanner's saying I plan to be there to hang out at No Name Nationals live this year. That was a lot of fun. We were just grabbing people as they were coming in, and like they're just like, oh, I just drove 1,200 miles from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Hey, let's talk for an hour about nothing. You know, I mean, we just grabbed these guys and threw them in there.
I would just, because what are you going to do? I'm going to have a little audience. I had Colleen was there and Damien was there. They had a little audience. And then I would just, hey, come on up, channel, you know, what you got here, talk about what you brought, you know, whatever. It just seemed to work out. It was just fun.
Well, Miss Catchy just sent us $10 Aussie, I believe that is. So,
thank you.
Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, right. Okay, so John's saying we have some good guests in the hopper. We can absolutely do another firearm training live. I would love that, Mr. John, because I took your advice and I'm going to go do some training. And I'm not gonna. I'll tell you at the very end of this, but I think I found a new love. I got to tell you, man, I fell in love with a Glock 22, man, 40 cal. Really enjoyed that thing, man. It fits my paw just fine. It's great.
Well, Mohawk 62 down here at the bottom says that that live was fun.
Yeah,
the live. I can't wait to do that again.
Colleen said it right here. The live was great. Exactly. It was funny too because they come over and they're sitting like 5 feet from us, and they got their little chairs, they got their little beers, and they're right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was fun. Oh man.
John says he'll give us 200 Guyana. That's $1 US. Or you could give us Iranian money, which is worth nothing now.
Exactly.
1 million Iranian. So that's when I went to Vladivostok, like when the Russian economy had collapsed, like 96, I guess. No, when was that? 98. And they said, be careful when you go out in town. You could run around with a basket full of rubles, like a picnic basket full of rubles, just hanging out of it, right?
Yeah.
And they said that people would run up, grab the basket, dump out the rubles, and run off with the basket.
Right.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, we're at about 2 hours. Yeah, and it was fun, man. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for stopping by. We had a good crowd in here. Thanks for all the questions. And everyone donated, thank you. And I promise you're going to get it back if he wins something at the No Name Nationals 2026. And go see all the people. Tanner, he's got thing coming up. Go see John Wilbur on his channel, 7 Central. And until then, man, we'll see you guys next week. And it's gonna be awesome.
We're out.
Have a good week.